It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
SKOR North Twins Show, extra innings, little bonus episode here on a Sunday. It's March 9th. Hit the like button and subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel. We're getting closer and closer to opening day. Declan Goff here to give you a quick little update on a solo episode of a SKOR North Twins Show. Twins have made some roster cuts, their first cuts from Twins spring training. Wanted to update you guys on that, plus the latest updates on some injuries to some core players. Maybe a roster battle to watch too as things begin to kind of slow down, I guess, at spring training or get to the end of spring training. So if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe button on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel. On the Apple and Spotify side, thank you so much for listening and supporting. 5-star rating, and keep spreading the word to your friends, to your mom, to your dad, to whoever, your old baseball coach, JV coach like me. Appreciate you guys subscribing and supporting the SKOR North Twins Show. So, as mentioned from the top, the Twins did make their first roster cuts after today's game. Here's who have been reassigned to either AAA or just reassigned to minor league camp. So far, optioned on March 9th have been Travis Adams, Matt Caterino, Marco Raya, and Emmanuel Rodriguez. They will be optioned to AAA St. Paul. Of the four guys there, and there's 5 other players that were also reassigned in minor league camp. Get to them in a second. But I think the ones of note here, Matt Caterino, a former second-round pick that the staff and the organization has been so bullish on since being a second-round pick 6 years ago. This poor guy just cannot stay healthy. He battled a shoulder injury last year. Once again, dealing with another shoulder discomfort. He's going to go seek a second opinion. He's only thrown just a handful of innings in his minor league career. He hasn't been able to throw a pitch in the minors in the last few years. It's unfortunate. It's the nature of this business. But at the same time, a tough break for Matt Caterino there, who the organization, when you talk to Falvey or you talk to Rocco, a lot of people have been talking him up for years. Once he's been healthy, he's going to be a very big-time piece for them going forward. I don't think that'll be the case this year, so really too bad there. Marco Raya, the Twins' top pitching prospect going into last year, had a little bit of a bumpy 2024, not a concerning 24, but enough to move him down a little bit from the prospect rankings. He is assigned to AAA St. Paul. If you go back to our episode we did on the starting pitching staff from Thursday on a full edition of the SKOR North Twins Show, I talked at length of how bullish this organization's pitching pipeline is. And even though Marco Raya has fallen down maybe the pecking order there a little bit, still someone to watch. And if you can go see St. Paul Saints games, obviously if you're a Twins fan in the Twin Cities, the Twins are very fortunate to have their AAA affiliate basically 20 minutes away in St. Paul. Another great guy to watch there, and when he gets the toe of the rubber at CHS Field. Very excited to see what he does, but a guy that maybe fell down a little bit, but not a surprise cut at all, by any means. Emmanuel Rodriguez, I think this one, I'm not saying it's a surprise cut, but I think if you had told me a month ago or 2 months ago before spring training really started, he's going to be a part of the first round of cuts, I would have been like, oh, why is that? Well, he dealt with an ankle issue and unfortunately kind of limited him at spring training. Now, I didn't expect him to make this roster by any means, but he had just started to take BP. I saw that was reported from Sam Dykstra of MLB.com over the week that he's now doing outfield drills and base running drills. So he began camp with that ankle sprain, and he is going to St. Paul. I don't think he was going to push for a spot, especially after they signed Harrison Bader. And I think we're going to see Emmanuel Rodriguez, barring any injuries, which have been a problem for him. I think we're going to see him in a Twins uniform at some point in 2025 and potentially early if there is an unfortunate injury to a Twins outfielder. But he has also been optioned to AAA St. Paul. Again, he's got kind of that interesting skill set where he draws walks, he hits a lot of bombs. He does strike out a lot, but he has a very keen eye of the strike zone. Interesting skill set. Another guy I would like to get my own eyes on before really making like declarative opinions on him or his future. But the organization, as we just talked about with Caterino, have been very bullish on Emmanuel Rodriguez. He can play center field. I think Harrison Bader and Austin Martin were going to be naturally ahead of him in the pecking order, but someone who will also be in AAA St. Paul. This has been like, by the way, just complete side note, it's been like 3 weeks of me battling a like throat or sinus issue. So as I do solo episodes and I try to talk for 10 to 15 minutes without anyone to buffer, I will have to take some swigs of Gatorade. So bear with me. If Gatorade or Mucinex wants to sponsor this podcast, man, I can tell you right now, I'd gladly do that. Other players we assigned in Twins minor league camp, Randy Dobnak. We all know the story there. Dauber has been reassigned to minor league camp. Cory Lewis, the knuckleballer, who I think will eventually be assigned to AAA. He's been reassigned to minor league camp. We'll see where his future holds, but I still think Cory Lewis winds up with the Saints. He made some starts near the end with the Saints last year, but a really intriguing player to watch. That knuckleball, which has been the hardest knuckleball ever thrown, according to the StatCast here at least. Another really interesting guy that I want to see kind of load up some innings in AAA to see if he's on the verge of being into the big leagues with the Twins in 2025. Erasmo Rodriguez, once upon a time a really effective reliever. He's been in the big leagues for a long time. He spent time with Seattle and Tampa Bay. Last year, he wasn't too bad with the Rays, but he's been battling some stuff for a while now. He will not be making the Twins camp. He was kind of a last-minute invite towards like kind of the first couple weeks of training camp, but he will not be making the Twins roster. And then some people have been messaging me in the YouTube channel about Junior Severino. The power is for real. 21 home runs last year with the Saints. He had 35 home runs across some stops in minor league ball with the Twins in 2023. Slugged .546 that season. I think this is probably a quad A guy, but, he's 25 years old. He's certainly not at the cutoff where you'd be completely alarmed if he does get a call at some point to the big league club, but not a surprise cut and not someone I expected to be on the verge of making the Twins roster. So 9 guys now have been reassigned. Travis Adam, Matt Canarino, Marco Raya, Emmanuel Rodriguez, Randy Dobnak, Alec Isola, Cory Lewis, Erasmo Rodriguez, and Junior Severino. Twins now have 48 active players in camp, 12 non-roster. They have 18 pitchers. They have 4 catchers, 6 infielders, 5 outfielders, and 3 utility players. So first cuts of Twins spring training have been made. We'll be jumping on here periodically throughout spring training as it winds down to also update you guys on any of those roster cuts. That's the first batch. So we'll see what the next batch entails, but appreciate everyone listening and supporting the Twins Show. Hit the subscribe button for Minnesota Twins content on this YouTube channel. Appreciate everyone that has helped push this over to 4,500 subscribers. A couple other things here on the SKOR North Twins Show. Brooks Lee versus Eddie Julian. Both these guys had good days at the plate. They parked some baseballs over the fence today, and I'm curious if both end up making the roster. I think Eddie Julian's bat is ahead of Brooks Lee's bat, but Brooks Lee is a switch hitter, and his glove is definitely ahead of Eddie Julian. So I think there's a world where maybe both of these guys do make the opening day roster. It might be one or the other because they're going to want one of them to likely get more playing time if they are in AAA. I know when Brooks Lee got called up last year, he got off to a great start in his first 10 games, and then his bat kind of fell off. He was dealing with a back injury in the early part of 2024, and then it was a shoulder injury, and I know the organization really wasn't pleased with their first taste of him. Not to say that they are down on him, but I'm curious to see where him versus Eddie Julian, who maybe you can make the case was maybe one of the bigger disappointments on the Twins in 2024 or 2025 after a great 2024 season. We'll see where both those guys kind of fall, but both those guys had good days at the plate. Eddie played some first. The game was only audio only, so I wasn't able to watch the game. Twins fans weren't able to see the game today, but I think this is going to be a fun one to watch. The Twins roster is mostly kind of set. There aren't these crazy roster battles that typically happen in spring training, but between Brooks Lee and Eddie Julian, I think that's a fun one to watch as spring training kind of winds down. Again, I think there's a path where both do make the opening day roster, but certainly wouldn't be shocked if only one of them makes the opening day roster. Some injury updates. These come from LaBelle Neal, the Star Tribune. Subscribe to the Star Tribune if you don't, support some local journalism. But some players who left with injuries earlier last week that we touched on this Twin Show. Zebby Matthews, who fielded a ground ball up the third baseline, had an awkward step, and I think initially people kind of thought, oh, he kind of maybe rolled his ankle. He actually was dealing with a hip flexor strain. So when he was bent over on the mound afterwards, you saw some discomfort there. It wasn't the ankle. He was dealing with a hip injury. LaBelle reported it appears to be minor. Matthews was well enough to get on the mound to make sure he's healthy. So good news there for one of the Twins' most important pitching prospects. We got a glimpse of him last year. Justin Topa, who dealt with a barrage of injuries last season, he left with shoulder tightness earlier last week. He has not needed an MRI, which is good. He's made progress over the last few days. He's continuing to be evaluated. So some good news there from Zebby Matthews and Justin Topa. And then Chris Paddock. Man, it is scary being a major league pitcher. He had some comebackers, one that went off him, another one that grazed his ear. Like, he was removed from the ball game just because of some precautionary things. But it's a scary time to be a pitcher. With people obviously sending that damn baseball right back at you at the mound. It was just precautionary, but nothing of complete worry there. But Twins do have some depth with their AAA pitching that if they were to lose a Chris Paddock or weren't having like a Joe Ryan ready for opening day, which sounds like he was in a very good place, then that velocity was down. We touched on that on the SKOR North Twins Show, but not too much to worry. He's checking the boxes and ramping up that velo as opening day gets closer. So some injury updates there. Luke Keeschall also, Walker Jenkins also getting closer to returning from another ankle sprain that both him and Emmanuel Rodriguez were dealing with. So some decent news. You look around Major League Baseball, and this is, again, knocking on wood. Please do not shoot the messenger here. But Twins have remained relatively healthy. And, of course, their core players in Buxton, Correa, and Lewis. Yes, I know. Hold your breath, cross your fingers, say your prayers, do whatever juju you have to do to make sure that those guys are healthy. The Twins have avoided some major injuries here in spring training, which is a good sign. We're about, a little more than a couple weeks away from opening day in St. Louis, so those are good things. One more note here on the SKOR North Twins Show. I found this interesting. So on The Athletic, Jim Bowden, former MLB GM, kind of surveyed some spring training standout players, and he talked to Jeremy Zoll, the Twins GM, about players that have kind of surprised at training camp. And one guy that came up was Trevor Larnach, and Larnach's having a very good spring training from a results standpoint. He's hitting the ball well. He had another base hit today to the opposite field. Jeremy said that Trevor had an excellent second half last season and is looking poised to take another step forward in 2025. He had a great offseason. He was working out with Royce Lewis. Him and Royce have worked out the last few off seasons. They both have been working out together in Texas. And he has had his swing and body exactly where he wants them to be right now. Trevor's abilities allow Rocco to lengthen and balance that lineup with tough ABs and a well-rounded approach on the left side. Trevor Larnach hasn't gotten a lot of run lefty on lefty. He's very good. He might just be a super platoon hitter. I'd like to see what the world looks like potentially with him facing some lefty on lefty there, but he's having a great spring. He had a really good second half last year before being shut down like in the last week of the regular season. But former first-round pick who had a bunch of stop and starts last season after being recalled from AAA was on the Twins roster the rest of the way. Just a really good lefty bat against right-handed pitching. Again, I'd like to see him get some more run maybe against lefties. We'll see if the Twins change some of that approach in 2025, but he's having a great camp. Executives have noticed. The Twins leadership has noticed. Good signs there. And then Byron Buxton too, who has also remained healthy. Again, I know he's only played 100 games once since 2017, but wasn't dealing with any ailments. Appears to be in good shape. He's hitting the cover off the ball in spring training games. Great signs from Byron Buxton. So, again, I know it's spring training. Sometimes you hyper-focus on results. Sometimes you get too worked up over certain things, and it doesn't matter in meaningless games. But Twins' health has been mostly good. They have made their first round of roster cuts, and spring training is about halfway through here. And some good signs from Fort Myers, which is really good. Again, I'll be at Busch Stadium in St. Louis on opening day to cover Twins opening day, and then Twins are on the road to kind of start. They have a very road-heavy start to their season. St. Louis, then Chicago. They're home for 3 against Houston for opening day, and then they're back on the road again. So a lot of road games early for the Minnesota Twins. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe button. If you have stumbled upon the SKOR North Twins Show, and maybe even watching, haven't been subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It keeps the word going about this show. I am super excited for this to start. We have a big week here at SKOR North coming up with Purple Daily and NFL free agency starting, but baseball's around the corner, which I'm super excited for too. So if you haven't already, continue to support the SKOR North Twins Show. Please do so. My name is Declan Goff. Again, I'll be periodically jumping on here on extra innings episodes throughout spring training. We usually have full SKOR North Twins shows on Thursday. And by the way, yes, Trevor Plouffe will be joining the SKOR North Twins Show again for 2025. Very excited to have him on here soon. He was a great addition last year, a former Twin. He's going to be in the broadcast booth again. Does awesome work for John Boy Media. So our guy Trevor Plouffe, Coach Trev, will be on the SKOR North Twin Show again in 2025. Can't wait for that. Appreciate you guys, though. Hit the like button, subscribe button on the SKOR North Twin Show. My name's Declan Goff. Be talking at you soon.